Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rose Writes and I write and narrate Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. I really enjoy writing Marichat fics because I just love them together, so if you have any ideas you'd like me to write, let me know in the comments or DM me on Instagram, Rose Writes Miraculously. The stunning art in my thumbnail is by Cat Saturn. All of their socials will be linked below, so make sure you show them all the love. Now then, please enjoy Midnight Spaghetti. Marinette sat alone in her room reading the first manga novel of Toradora that Cat Noir introduced her to. The book with its stunning illustrations gave her a warm, fuzzy feeling as she quickly devoured the book panel by panel. Liking someone else and everyone knows except for that person? She could definitely relate. Until she finally confessed her feelings to her superhero best friend and realized he felt the same way too. Cat Noir had always been there for her even when she wanted to learn how to confess to a different boy. Cat supported her through everything. He made her laugh. He cared about her even when she didn't see it. Marinette laid under a cozy cat-themed blanket, nibbling on a fresh plate of flaky croissants, feeling the brisk autumn air drifting in through her open window. Halfway through her second croissant, a clawed leather hand emerged from the window, obstructing her peripheral. A startled Marinette flipped over the edge of the chaise longue, choking on the fluffy pastry. Cat Noir flung himself through the opening, propping himself on Marinette's couch. He beat her back a few times until her coughing settled. "Cat!" she screeched. "You nearly killed me!" Marinette desperately clutched at her chest, taking large breaths. Cat contorted his face, attempting not to laugh, but failing. Marinette situated herself back on the chaise longue, knocking her superhero boyfriend to the floor. His laughter bounced around the walls of her room, his laugh a bit raspy but full and boisterous. Sure, he was making fun of her, but she could listen to his laughing snorts forever. "Shh, it's late. Maman and Papa are probably in bed." Marinette shoved a finger to his mouth, trying to shut him up. But instead, Cat Noir grabbed her wrist, pulling her to the floor beside him. She fell to the floor with a gentle thud, then paused to make sure she didn't hear footsteps below. When all seemed clear, she breathed a sigh of relief, whipping her head to meet Cat's glowing green eyes, which were full of mischief. She furrowed her brow, scowling at him, which made Cat burst into a round of stifled giggles. She huffed, scooting her back flat against the chaise. They sat together in silence for a few minutes before Marinette's head drooped to Cat's shoulder. She hummed a familiar tune from the opera Carmen that he recognized as her baking song. Cat had helped Marinette and Mr. Dupin bake only a handful of times, but being here felt more like home than his own. He couldn't remember the last time he had a decent conversation with his father. Probably not since his mother's disappearance. Since then, his own home felt cold and lonely. But there was a warmth that embodied the Dupin family. He loved the way the house always smelled of vanilla and fresh pastries. He loved how their eyes lit up when he came to visit, and he especially loved Marinette. He smiled, taking her hand, stroking it. With his other clawed hand, he reached up to the couch, grabbing a croissant, eating it in only 3 bites. Despite his rush snack, Cat's stomach growled loudly. That's right, he forgot to eat dinner before fleeing his room. Marinette picked her head up, snickering at his grimace as he secured a hand over his stomach. "Aw, the poor kitty is hungry, huh?" She stood up and then ruffled his already messy blonde hair. She helped pull him to his feet as his stomach let out another angry grumble. "Shut up," he said jokingly. "But yeah, I'm starving." Marinette looked around thoughtfully. "Oh, I know! Follow me!" She gently opened the wooden door, flipping it over as quietly as she could. The stairs creaked beneath their feet as the couple made their way to the kitchen. On their way, Cat eyed the shelves, noticing the trinkets out for display. The Dupin residence had several homey decorations, including pictures of baby Marinette resting on the bookshelf. Cat Noir took one particular photo of Marinette. She appeared about 3 years old and had her loving parents on either side of her as her tiny hands and face were covered in birthday cake. "Princess, come here!" Marinette emerged from the kitchen drying her hands on a rag before getting food started. "Look how cute you were! What happened?" Cat teased, showing Marinette her baby picture. "Ha ha," she replied humorlessly, hitting him with the damp cloth. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm still adorable." She curtsied to Cat, taking the edges of her night shorts as if it were a dress and bowing. "I can't argue with that," he smiled, stealing a kiss from her cheek. "So, food?" the hungry superhero remarked, face turning red after yet another stomach rumble. "Food? How about spaghetti?" The pair meandered into the kitchen as Marinette eyed the cabinet, searching for something specific. Marinette stood on her tiptoes trying to reach some ingredients. Her arms were just shy of being long enough to grab the sauce. "You're really short." Cat held his hand out from his head, laughing, showing that he was at least a foot taller than Marinette. "I'm 5'2". I'm not that short." He smirked at her, demonstrating that he could easily reach it if he wanted to. "I see, Kitty Noir. Be a good little house pet and get it for me if you're so tall." Teasing Cat Noir came naturally. They fit together like two puzzle pieces. They were so radically different, but somehow they just worked. Being Ladybug, she felt like she couldn't act how she wanted to around him. She was much more matter-of-fact and honestly stressed. When fighting in Akuma, there's no time for jokes. It didn't bother her that they couldn't share everything right now. Their identities wouldn't remain a secret forever, but for right now, this was more than enough. Instead of reaching for the ingredients, he grabbed Marinette's slender waist and hoisted her to stand on the counter. She giggled as she picked the few things she needed. "Thanks, Cat." She flicked his bell and it gave a small jingle before fading away into silence. Marinette opened the kitchen window for some fresh air. The night was still, the occasional car driving below. The fire of the stove flickered to life as she began boiling a pot of water. "So now we put the pasta in?" Cat asked, staring at the stagnant water that had only just started steaming. "No, silly kitty. We have to wait for the water to get angry. Have you ever cooked before?" She snickered, grabbing various utensils from a pull-out drawer. "Nope, this is my first time. I used to bake a bit with my mom, but that was like 4 years ago." A darkness spread across his handsome face. He tried to smile anyway. Marinette averted her eyes. The last thing she wanted to do was upset him. Thinking about it, there were so many things she didn't actually know about him. He was a mystery. Like, what did he do in his free time? Or when's his birthday? "Cat, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to." "Don't worry, Princess. You didn't know. That was a long time ago." Cat Noir reassured her by giving her shoulders a firm squeeze. Marinette stared at the pot now bubbling on the surface. She began filing the pasta into the pot, breaking a few strands to make them fit. "Cat, can I ask you something?" He stared at her, puzzled. "Sure, anything, Princess." She mindlessly stirred the pot, watching the bubbles surface then pop. "When's your birthday?" Not the kind of question he was expecting. He cocked his head to the side in amusement, his fringe moving out of his eyes. "My birthday? Why?" She fixed their plates, handing it to him, not meeting his curious gaze. "I realized I don't know a lot about you, and I thought maybe if I knew your birthday, we could celebrate together if you wanted. I'm sure being a superhero can be lonely." She lifted herself to sit on the counter now, being nearly eye level with him. "Oh!" He took a large forkful of spaghetti, leaving behind traces of the sauce on his face. "Actually, my birthday was October 19th. I just turned 16. Marinette's mouth dropped open. "So I missed it? No fair." "Well, consider this your birthday feast. Cheers!" She laughed, holding out her spaghetti plate, clinking it against his own. "We can always celebrate next year." He stared at her, the moonlight illuminating her figure bouncing off the tiled floor. Breathtaking. Next year. The words excited him. Another year with Marinette. It was almost too good to be true. "And now, my princess, can I ask you something?" Marinette nodded, her feet swinging from the counter like a child sitting in a chair unable to touch the floor. "You look beautiful." Cat Noir stalled, looking down at his half-eaten plate. "That's not a question, Cat, but thank you. Even when I'm covered in spaghetti sauce?" She wiped her face with a nearby napkin, hoping her face looked clean. He took a step towards her to brush her bangs from her face. "Especially covered in spaghetti sauce." She rolled her eyes, taking another large bite. "I actually just wanted to ask, He looked out the window for a moment, breathing deeply. His hands felt clammy beneath his suit. "May I kiss you?" Her heart started beating faster than an akuma's butterfly wings. Her first kiss. And to kiss Cat Noir. She could hardly wrap her mind around it. Marinette then remembered she had kissed him. Kind of, but a villain was always involved, and she was her spotted alter ego. She refused to consider those as her real first kiss. It had to mean something, and now she could kiss him as herself. She could love him as herself. I'd like that, Cat Noir. He took one more step towards his blushing girlfriend. Cat cradled her head in his hands, placing the gentlest of kisses on her lips. When their lips slightly parted, smiles covered their faces. Marinette pressed her forehead to his, her arms draped around his neck. "I love you," she whispered. She had never felt this way before. Cat made her feel whole. Marinette had been faced with several obstacles in her life, with being a secret superhero and the new guardian of the Miraculous. But with Cat Noir, she could be herself and have fun. She couldn't imagine life without this big furball. The very thing she feared the most turned into the most beautiful thing that could have ever happened to her. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you want even more Marichat in your life, click on this playlist. As always, stay miraculous!